Hello, this is EW Lemon, and today I want to show you how to load an old game of Dominion Online. Now, you're going to need two things in order to load an old game. You're going to need a Dominion Online subscription, and you're going to need the game ID of the game you want to load. I'm going to show you how to get the game ID later in this video. For right now, I want to show you how to load the game if you have the game ID already. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is on Dominion Online, I'm going to click on My Table to the very left. And I'm going to click on this load old game button right here, kind of at the bottom left middle-ish. Now after that, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to paste in my game ID right here. And now I want to hit load game. And what I need to do next is I need to add another player, because right now it's only loaded with one player, and that is me. So I'm going to hit this add bot button so that the bot can play as the other player as well. And the last thing I want to do is I want to play the game from my perspective. So what I'm going to do is, you see how it says original player Lord Raddington right here and original player ZW Lemon? Well, right now I'm playing as Lord Raddington, and I'd rather play as ZW Lemon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this little arrow button right here. And what it's going to do is it's going to switch orders for us. So now, since I was originally player 2, I'm going to be playing as player 2. And, you know, the Lord Raddington will be playing as himself because the game I loaded was against Lord Raddington. Alright, which is the bot for Dominion Online. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit ready. Alright, so this is the kingdom that I originally played against Lord Raddington. So I can play the game from the very beginning against the computer if I want to, but I'm not always going to want to do that. Sometimes I'm going to want to look at the very end of the game to see all the decisions that were made up until the very end. This can be helpful, but it's not exactly what I want. So I'm going to hit resign right now. And now to load from the end of the game, where I'm going to go to is edit table. You can also just do this from the original table settings. So now I'm going to hit the button load from end. So now you can see the decision index has changed, meaning that we are now playing at, you know, the last decision index made in the game, or like right before it. With that being said, everything should be ready as the original settings have been set, except that I need to be second player here again because I would like to play from my position. Alright, so now I'm going to hit ready. Alright, so this is right before the very last move in the game. And as you can see, there's one province left, and I have enough money to buy a province. And if I were to buy a province here, the game would end. So what it's displaying right now is all the moves. If you can see in this little right hand corner, it's displaying all the moves that have been made in the game. So since it's playing from the very end, it's logged all the moves, and I can go back and look through the moves that I made and my opponent has made. And even if I want to, I can play from a certain position. So let's just say I want to play at the beginning of turn 12. Yeah. So I can hit this rewind button and go back to a point of the log that I would like to play. And if I would like to go back to the end again, I can just resign. And I can just play again with the same settings I have set up already. So, alright, cool. So if you have the game ID, this is all the things you can do. Now, next in the video, I'm going to show you how to get the game ID. One of the quickest ways to find an old game ID is to use the chat log. The chat log is going to contain every game that we've played in this browsing session, or basically as long as we've had the browser open on dominiononline.com. So these are all the games we played. You see right here, like these little green numbers. It'll say joining game on the game ID, and it's going to tell you what server it is using to run that game. The server location is not really important. What's more important is the game ID here. So if I wanted to get a specific game ID, I could, you know, copy this one right here and just do, you know, copy, and then I could copy it into my tables doing the method I showed you earlier. Also, you can use comments to kind of decipher which game you've played. It's a useful tip. That's why I included this here. Now, one of the unfortunate things about this method is that if I'm to refresh the page, that it should all go away, unfortunately. Yeah, so no longer do I have any of the game ID numbers, which is sad and unfortunate. But there are other ways to recover the game IDs if I do this by mistake. So if you can't find an old game ID in the chat log, that is okay. There are other ways to find old game IDs. One way to find an old game ID is by using the tool DomBot. Now, to have access to DomBot, you're going to need two things. You're going to need a Discord account, and you're going to need to join the Dominion Discord server. I will have the link to that in the description. So once you have done those things, you can click on the Welcome subchannel, and you can right-click on DomBot. And after you right-clicked on it, you can click Message. So after we've right-clicked on Message, we should be in a direct message conversation with DomBot. Now, DomBot can load human versus human games. It cannot load human versus computer games. If you have the game ID for a human versus computer game, you can still load that on Dominion Online. However, DomBot's just not going to be able to find it. So let me teach you a quick command that can get you started pretty quickly. So I'm going to do !prior in ZWLemon. And this is going to show me the past 5 rated games that I've played. Now, if I want to find a specific game ID, I can go and look right under the name. And you see this little number right here? Let's take the first one, for instance. See this number right here? This is going to be our game ID. So if I wanted to load this game, I would copy this and paste it into Dominion Online and the game ID and go through the steps I showed you earlier, and you should be able to load this game. This is going to be true for all the commands that we bring up. Alright, so let's just say that I want to load more than my last 5 rated games. Well, what I can do is I can add the command -n, and I can add 20, and it's going to load the last 20 rated games that I've played. Alright, cool. Well, I've been able to load rated games, but that doesn't say anything about unrated games. How do I load those? Well, you can use the exact same command and add a -u to the end of it, and it will load the last 5 unrated games that I've played. Like before, you just take the game ID underneath, and you can copy and paste it into game ID and go through the steps mentioned earlier in the video, and you should be able to load the game. And like before, if I want to load more than the last 5 games, I can add the n20 command. So I'm going to do -u -n20, and it should load the last 20 unrated games that I've played. It's important to note that the prior command will only search the last 20 games that you've played. You can't search more than that. So if I were to type in !prior ZWLemon -n50, it's only going to show me the last 20 games, because the 20 games are the max it could show. If I want to search for a game ID that's not in the past 20 rated games that I've played, or the past 20 unrated games that I've played, I can use the match command. The match command allows you to search for games between any 2 given people. Now in this case, we're going to use this to search for our games between a particular opponent. So here, I'm going to type in !match. Gotta spell that right. And I'm going to use my username, and I'm going to use the opponent I am looking up's username. In this case, it's going to be Amaloy, so I'm also going to put -n100. Now the reason I put the -n100 there is because I want the match command to search the past 100 days to see all the games that me and Amaloy have played. I would usually recommend putting -n50 or -n100, but realistically, to practically use this, you'll have to add that on. So after doing this command, I see all the games that me and Amaloy have played in the last 100 days. But I can search for this with any 2 given players. I can search for my name and any opponent that I know the username of. So it's a very useful technique. Now, if you happen to have forgotten everything that I have said and don't know where to start, you can type in the !help. And DomBot will give you a good idea on how to get started. It's going to show you the commands it has, and if with any command, if you put a -h behind it, it will give you help and give you some detailed instructions on how to use it. One more thing before I end this video. Sometimes you will paste in the correct game ID and it simply will not load. So for right here, I have a fake game ID, and I'm going to hit load, and it's not going to load. There's going to be this internal error message at the bottom. Now in this case, it was a fake game ID, and it's obviously not going to sense it because this game ID has never been played. But you may have a real game ID that has been played, and you'll paste it in, and sometimes it will just not load. And in case you come across this error, I just want to let you know this is not your fault. This is a known issue with loading games in Dominion Online. Right now there's not a patch or fix for it, but hopefully there is an update in the future that could possibly fix this. But for right now, sometimes you have to deal with this problem. Anyways, I hope this tutorial has helped you and has helped you to load old games. And yeah, this is EW Lemon signing off.